From Minions being based on Nazi experiments to the franchise deliberately avoiding World War II, today we're breaking down 10 absolutely disturbing Minions secrets that completely reframe the entire franchise as something genuinely dark. But first, if you love Minions, drop a banana emoji. And if you're ready for some terrifying truths, hit that subscribe button. Number 1. The Minions deliberately avoided World War II by hiding in a cave. This isn't coincidence. This is intentional erasure of history. The Minions' sole purpose is to serve the most evil villains they can find. They've served T-Rexes, pharaohs, vampires, Napoleon Bonaparte, literally the worst creatures and people throughout history. But there's a massive gap in their service record. After serving Napoleon in the early 1800s, the Minions went to live in isolation in a frozen cave and didn't re-emerge until the 1960s. That's a 150-plus year gap, a gap that conveniently avoids the entire 20th century. More specifically, it avoids World War II. If the Minions' mission is to serve the most despicable masters, why weren't they in Germany during the rise of Hitler? Why weren't they serving the Axis powers? The franchise never addresses this. It just skips over it. Illumination made a conscious decision to avoid the question of whether the Minions would have served Hitler. Rather than answering that question, they literally hid the Minions in a cave for 150 years. They rewrote the timeline so the Minions couldn't possibly serve the most evil person in modern history. So Illumination went out of its way to avoid acknowledging that the Minions would have enthusiastically served Nazi Germany. Number 2, the Minions appear to be based on Nazi experiments on Jewish children. This parallel is too specific to be accidental. There's a disturbing historical detail that nobody wants to talk about. During World War II in Nazi Germany, they took Jewish children and conducted chemical experiments on them. They exposed them to poison gas. They put these children in special helmets and suits to contain them during the tests. Those helmets and suits, they look almost identical to Minions. The Minions are small, pill-shaped creatures with goggles. They wear little helmets. They're designed to be contained, controlled, and expendable. The visual parallels to Nazi experimentation on children are undeniable. And the fact that Illumination created a franchise around cute versions of what appear to be victims of Nazi atrocities is genuinely uncomfortable. This isn't just a wild theory. The visual design is too similar to be ignored. Illumination either deliberately referenced this dark history, or they created something that accidentally resembles one of humanity's worst crimes. Either way, the franchise is built on imagery that evokes the Holocaust, so the Minions might literally be cute versions of Holocaust victims, and the franchise treats them as comedic relief. Number 3, Minions don't wear goggles for vision. They wear them to hold their eyes. And the goggles serve a horrifying biological purpose. Everyone assumes Minions wear goggles because they have poor eyesight, but that's not true. In one short film, when a Minion pulls back another Minion's goggles, the eye socket momentarily pops out of place and dangles around his head. The goggles aren't for seeing, they're for holding the eyeballs in. This means Minions are biologically unstable. Their anatomy is so wrong that without external support, their eyes would literally fall out of their heads. They're not creatures with a design flaw, they're creatures with structural biological failures. They need prosthetics just to function, and this has horrifying implications about where they came from. If Minions naturally have eyes that fall out, how did they evolve like this? How is this advantageous? The answer is, it's not. Minions shouldn't exist. Their biology is wrong. They're mistakes. So Minions need goggles not because of poor eyesight, but because their bodies are literally falling apart. Number 4, the Minions are actually immortal geniuses, pretending to be dumb. This changes everything about how we should view them. If you watch carefully, the Minions aren't bumbling idiots. They're geniuses in disguise. While isolated in a frozen Russian cave from 1812 to 1968, over 150 years with no outside contact, the Minions independently invented electricity and developed telephone technology decades before they should have had access to either. They created working lights in a cave using reliable electricity. They built telephones out of ice, metal, and wood scraps. But it gets worse. The Minions have mastered tool use since the dinosaur age, 66 million years ago. They understand blueprints and architecture well enough to help build the pyramids of Giza. They can learn and master sports at Olympic levels. They can coordinate complex plans like prison escapes involving mechanical engineering, aerodynamics, and physics. They broke into the Louvre Museum and stole the Mona Lisa, while 55,000 soldiers and police officers were in Paris for the Olympics. This is an accident. This is genius-level competence being deliberately hidden behind bumbling comedy. The Minions are pretending to be stupid, so the Minions are actually super intelligent beings who have been guiding human history and making us think they're idiots. Number 5, the Minions have been eliminating truly evil masters the entire time. This is why they all die. It's not incompetence, it's assassination. Every single master the Minions have served, the Pharaoh, Dracula, Napoleon, dies. And they almost always die as a direct result of Minion actions. The Pharaoh is buried alive under his own pyramid when the minions build it upside down. Dracula is turned to ash when minions pull back his curtains to sunlight. Napoleon is blasted into the sky by a minion misdirected cannon. These aren't accidents. These are executions. The minions serve evil masters specifically to keep them in check and eliminate them when they become too dangerous. They're acting as guardian assassins throughout human history, and they only spare Gru because he's a villain with a good heart, someone who eventually turns good and helps others. After Gru reforms, the minions continue serving him not because it's in their DNA, but because he's become family. They've evolved beyond needing the most evil master. They now want the best person to serve, and that's why they've also joined the Anti-Villain League. They're now actively fighting against true evil instead of just infiltrating it. So the minions aren't mindless servants. They're immortal agents of justice, eliminating the world's worst dictators and tyrants throughout history. Number 6, the minions literally invented human language. They're the source of all human civilization. In the opening montage of the first Minions movie, we see minions speaking words during prehistoric times. Boss, banana, yum, piñata. These words are spoken by minions during the Cretaceous period, over 66 million years ago when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. But human language didn't develop until 200,000 to 300,000 years ago. That means the minions invented language 66 million years before humans did. The word banana comes from the Arabic word banan, meaning fingertip. If minions were speaking this word 66 million years ago, then minions created the linguistic root that would eventually become English, French, Spanish, Arabic, and all related languages. The minions are the source of human language itself. Every word you speak, every language you know, comes from the minions' gobbledygook. They didn't just influence human history, they created the very foundation of human civilization through language. Without the minions, humans would never have developed speech. So humanity owes its entire linguistic and cultural foundation to creatures that look like sentient yellow beans. Number 7. Gambit's Cajun accent is literally inspired by minion speech. This is actually lore accurate. When Gambit from X-Men appears in Deadpool and Wolverine, his accent is incredibly hard to understand. Deadpool jokes that his dialect coach must have been the minions. But here's the wild part. In the lore of the Minions universe, he's actually not wrong. Gambit is Cajun, ethnically French people from the Deep South. Cajun language is a Creole that combines English and French into a hybrid language. And the minions, they speak a Creole of English, French, and Spanish. Going back to dinosaur times, if minions exist in the same universe as Marvel, which is hilariously suggested by this joke, then Gambit literally did learn his accent from minions. So Deadpool making a joke about the minions being Gambit's dialect coach is actually canon in the Despicable Me universe. All of human speech, including Cajun Creole, comes from minion linguistics. Gambit's accent isn't just influenced by French and Southern culture. It's actually influenced by creatures that invented language 66 million years ago. So the minions didn't just invent language. They shaped every accent and dialect humans have ever created. Number 8. Minions and Monsters broke the franchise's own timeline. This movie makes zero sense chronologically. The first Minions movie establishes that the minions hid in a frozen cave from 1812 until 1968. The sequel, Rise of Gru, happens in the 1970s, but then Minions and Monsters arrives, featuring different minions who are clearly separate from the main group. The problem? The timeline is impossible. For Minions and Monsters to make sense, it would have to take place between 1933, when monster movies became popular, and 1968, when the original minions leave the cave. But the minions in that cave can't be doing anything outside the cave because they're literally trapped there. So either Minions and Monsters takes place before 1812, which contradicts the established lore, or it's set after 1968, which contradicts the movie's own setup. Illumination created a prequel that doesn't fit their own established timeline. Rather than fixing the timeline, they just ignored it. They made a movie that breaks continuity and hoped nobody would notice. So Minions and Monsters is so poorly planned that it literally violates the franchise's own established history. Number 9. The minions almost certainly served Hitler. This is the question nobody wants to ask, but the logic demands it. The minions' directive is crystal clear. Serve the most despicable master they can find. Throughout history, they've served the worst villains imaginable, but there's a giant question mark over whether they served Hitler, and the answer is probably yes. Hitler was objectively one of the most despicable leaders in human history. If the minions' mission is to serve the most evil beings on the planet, and Hitler exists during a time period when the minions would theoretically be alive, then the minions should have served Hitler. The only reason the franchise doesn't explore this is because it's too dark. That's why Illumination put the minions in a cave for 150 years. It's not a plot device. It's a way to avoid the Holocaust question. Rather than have the minions serve Hitler, Illumination just made them unavailable. They rewrote history mystery so the Minions couldn't possibly be complicit in one of humanity's greatest atrocities. So the Minions franchise is built on deliberately avoiding an answer that the logic of the universe demands. Yes, they would have served Hitler. Number 10. The Minions continue serving Gru, even after he turns good because he's family. This reveals their true nature. Originally, the Minions chose to serve Gru because he was the most despicable master they could find. But after Gru turns good, giving up his life of crime, joining the anti-villain league, using his gifts to help others, the Minions still continue serving him. Why would they do this if their entire directive is to serve evil? The answer is profound. Gru isn't their master anymore. He's their family. The Minions have evolved beyond their original programming. They were never inherently good or evil. They only wanted a boss worth serving. Over time, through their relationship with Gru, they've grown and changed. They've realized that loyalty and love matter more than pursuit of evil. This means the Minions have the capacity for growth and change. They're not mindless. They're not evil. They're just lonely creatures looking for someone to belong to. And when they found Gru, a flawed person trying to become better, they decided to stay with him no matter what. They became his family instead of his servants. So the Minions serve Gru not because he's evil, but because they love him. And love transcends their original programming. And that's it. Which one horrified you the most? A dark historical parallel or a timeline-breaking plot hole? Let me know in the comments. If you want more Minions and Despicable Me breakdowns that'll completely reframe how you see this franchise's genuinely sinister foundations, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed because we're uncovering even more dark truths that